Good afternoon and welcome back. We are continuing on with our 6B, our 9:20 scheduled item. And we've heard the staff report, we've heard the applicant's report, we've had public input, probably Zoom input. So now we're back to the committee for questions.
The applicant does want to address some of the comments.
Okay. Do you want to wait till after I ask some questions on
She was finishing her
Absolutely.
list of questions when we
Absolutely.
went out for lunch.
Okay, so in regard to the well test, and this, there's a couple different things that I'm always talking about. And one is, of course, the drought, and the drought emergency water conservation. And I do appreciate, Trey, your explanation as far as the reduction of crops. But the reality of farming is that if we're in a severe drought year, it may be that you're not planting at all. I mean, that's kind of the nature of farming, is that sometimes we have many farmers that forego putting anything in the ground if we're in a serious drought. So while I appreciate those numbers, there's, basically, again, it's just the reality of farming is sometimes you just have to make the decision that we're not planting anything. Or a greater reduction than that. And of course, with our drought emergency ordinance, as I've said many times, is that we really need to beef that up. And I would hope that somebody like you, also Trey, as a consultant, would organize some of the cannabis growers and rally around this and improve those conditions in case of serious drought of what you can do, to improve that situation. And I'll give you an example. As far as in with the wine industry, with the grapes, when there was erosion issues, there was a erosion control committee formed that the grape growers jumped on board and started monitoring themselves, and to improve that so as not to create those erosion issues. So again, I would encourage, for the cannabis growers to get ahead of the situation and perhaps solve that problem and be proactive about that. But in regard to the well, again, there's another area that we need to, in my opinion, here at the county, we need to improve our standard. So we do have a well that was tested for 6 hours, which is appropriate, standard, minimal, kind of a minimal requirement in a well test that's tested in June. Again, it would solve a lot of problems as you hear, both from this commission, we have questions, and from the consumers or from our public, we have questions about the water. We're all concerned that's a very, it's a very precious resource. And so again, the more we can do to alleviate those worries, and if we can get, again, out ahead of that, and do something like do a longer pump test that would ensure the aquifer can keep up during long-term water extraction. So doing, a longer pump test. Nonetheless, as the report says, is that Lake County does not require this level of testing. So therefore, you're not actually required to do it, and we are kind of required to follow Lake County policy. And our Lake County policy is, allows us to accept a well test at 6 hour. That's an acceptable minimum. So I'm not sure, whether there's going to be an impact. But again, I appreciate that in the conditions of approval, that we do have some monitoring. And I guess I need to say something about that as well, because we have our annual reports. That I believe this body has never seen an annual report, and we're talking about changing that and not bringing annual reports in front of this planning commission. However, there is a great amount of information in those annual reports that would be very helpful to us and to the public in moving projects like this through more effectively and efficiently in a much faster pace than this if we had some information to go on. How much water are plants actually using here in Lake County, given different farming techniques? And you described the farming technique, putting the plants in the ground, and, you know, it kind of changes things up. So anyway, I don't know that I have a question around that, other than I'm just going to say that, you know, in letting you know, again, because you are a consultant, you are the property owner, that is what leaves much speculation in this room and on this, in my opinion, on this board, when we have the minimal amount of information to base our decisions on. So surprise us next time. Go beyond. I think that's all I have. I need to look at my notes again, see if I have some real questions.
So can I just, on the question of water, it was mentioned, in one of the conversations, the distance of the well to the creek. Could you clarify how close that one well is to Ziegler Creek, please?
I'm gonna have to look at the site plans to verify that. Does it say?
And that well is a new well, is that correct? It was put in 2022? Or is that an existing
It
well?
would have had to been put in before the application in 2021 or around that time. That's one of the things we sometimes get into is like, people are like, hey, you put in this well for a grow and that's an impact, but we can't even submit an application to the county without a legal water source. Yeah,
Right, but that's the well that is the source of water for this project, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so whenever it was put in, what is the distance from that to the creek?
Well, that one, I don't believe that to be accurate. Is that, what's that from? Oh, that's from the hydrologist. Okay. Yeah, would you scroll back down to that? From the, identifies their scale? No. Okay, from the site plans, it appears to be 200 feet, maybe 250. Looking.
That's an estimate, it's not a defined,
I could, it would take me a little bit more time.
that's right, but
Yeah,
but it, about 200 feet from the creek?
Yes, ma'am, there's a scale at the bottom of the site plan, and I'm
Right.
just,
Yeah, the scale is just teeny, though.
yeah, and that's why it's like, it's at least 200 feet, it may be 250,
And remind me, what is the depth of that well?
400 feet, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Thank you.
What's that? I think it's 550.
550?
Water level is at 200 on the well test.
Okay, no, that's all right, I heard it. So the well depth is 550 and the water table is at about 200 feet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Am I allowed to add a little on that water?
Close public comment, sorry. Any other questions at this moment?
No.
Alvarado, no?
The hydrologist just texted me and said that the creek is outside the radius of influence.
I didn't ask that. I want to know what is the distance? There's a question of radius of influence, which we've been talking about in Lake County for the last 4 or 5 years in regard to wells and creeks and effect of using wells during the hitch spawning season. So that is not a defined number. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I interrupted you.
I just want to, continue to add, one of the concerns that I have is sometimes our approach to land use is not ideal in terms of when we're talking about cumulative impact. And so we're always here parcel by parcel. And in a perspective that I'm looking at the entire environment, not these little sections, each individual well, what that well test says, but we really need to focus on what is the cumulative impact to the aquifers at a baseline of all of the projects, and we don't ever see those numbers. And not that it's on you to provide that information, but as this commission, when we're voting for these projects, we're always gonna get, I feel like that there's not gonna be an impact significant, the aquifer's gonna recharge, but we don't get the big picture. And I think in this day and age with water being a critical right for people to have access to, for the environment to look at what's happening in one specific location really doesn't talk about the impact of the rest of the land. And so I know that's not on your application to define all of that, but I think as a consultant who's come in front of this commission many times, I think we're asking for you as a consultant to maybe try to figure out how to support some of those questions that maybe are not a part of this application, that you need to say, we are actually doing all these things to make sure our impact is not going to cause harm to other properties and other landowners who have come before this commission and said repeatedly, we're having issues with our water. And so again, that's a verbal statement. That's a landowner saying, I'm having this issue. We don't have proof of that. But at some point, I think we need to, when those types of statements are being made, there needs to be a burden of proof to say, yeah, we've experienced that. And otherwise, we're still making decisions based off of information that is just to check all of these boxes. And so I think as we move forward, and maybe that's beyond this commission and how we review these projects, but I think we need to consider some best practices in trying to answer some of these questions that we repeatedly have when it comes to this commission and what we're asking of the applicants, to try to find some common ground to address some of those concerns that we continually have, but you've done your job. You've submitted, you got all your documentation, it came to the commission, or came to the community development, it's here in front of us. So you've done what you needed to do. But then what we're asking, is it going beyond what you're required to do, or we need to direct staff to do some more work? And so with all that said, I'm having trouble finding a place to support this project where we're at right now. You've met all the requirements, which I feel for, and I'm hearing and I'm looking at, but there's still part of it that hasn't been answered for me. And I don't know if we're going to get to that answer today, specifically for some of the concerns I'm thinking about, but then moving forward, because you've met the threshold to be here, and staff has said in their analysis this project is ready for approval. And so now trying to find that place of, do I feel like it's met that threshold for approval? I can't say I'm there yet, but I still want to dive into some of the comments and questions that have been raised that we don't have solid, defined answers for.
Can I ask a question about that? So the hydrology studies, was a requirement that they have to be prepared by a licensed professional, a licensed engineer or geologist. So they typically write a cumulative impact section. But it's dry, and it normally is like they're normally considering the radius of influence. The reason why it's always considered important is because that's how they determine if they can model a direct impact to a neighboring well or to a nearby surface water body. But what I'm gathering is that is insufficient, and so I was just hoping to gather a little bit more information so that the next time I contract with an engineer or a geologist to do one of these, and like, hey, make sure you analyze this or that, or whatever it is. I defer to the experts, and they're like, yeah, this is how we determine potential impact, and so that's what they go with. And I'm not a licensed professional, so I can't tell them yay or nay. But if I could say the commission wants to know this, then I have something I can take to them.
And I think too, the other part is it requires buy-in from the neighboring properties to provide information or access to gather the cumulative impact, which again is not a part of what this project is. But those are things I think about as we move forward, and I just don't know where that change comes. And it would require property owners to provide access to wells and to what the challenges are they're experiencing and documenting that, and that's beyond what I think a property owner needs to be doing as well. So those are just some of the struggles that I have when looking at projects like this. And so I just wanted to say that, and I don't know where the other commissioners, my colleagues are at, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I'm not saying that's a hard place right now. I'm still open, I still want to listen, and I still want to gather as much information as possible, and anything that you can bring is definitely important, so.
To specifically answer your question from before, Commissioner Zoller, the engineer that did the hydrology study, she just measured and she said it's 550 feet from Sigler Canyon Creek to the well.
Great.
Thank you.
Good.
I think to just complement what was just said, that we have 2 hydrology reports. We had one from another very qualified individual as well. You know, they didn't match up, so so that certainly causes a big wonderment about just about the whole situation. And we have talked before about it that to have an in-house hydrologist, how can we and we've had this conversation before. The applicant's hydrologist does a report, not that it's any less honest than it was but that's the perspective. And so we got another one that was not, which was, almost a polar opposite. So that's cause for a pause for,
Well,
And a part of the cumulative impact is, and we've heard, not just today, but in various other situations of this, neighbors say, but my well runs dry. And so, and that I think in the hydrology reports, they use models. And it would sort of be unrealistic to say, you need to go around all the neighbors and, get all the data and, that kind of thing. But we hear anecdotally, and there's no reason not to believe what we hear, is that their well runs dry, and certainly a concern about another big straw going into the aquifer. How's that going to affect, the neighboring properties? So I think that's an issue. I mean, you've been here before. Water is a big concern. So
for me, it's as I said, or whatever, it's doing more than the minimum. So if, with this test result that was done on 6/24/24, 6 hours, and it includes a comment that says at this time, we feel this well is capable of 25 gallons per minute. Note, and then there's a note also, it says all results are subject to change depending on time of year and weather conditions, which is exactly it. And so if there was a well test that was done at a more appropriate time of the year, or for even a longer period of time, that would ensure that the aquifer could hold up during long-term extraction, as opposed to a minimum well test of 4 to 6 hours, just making sure the well works and that there's water. It's sufficient, but in this particular case, because we're dealing with, and I think, as you well know, this is not just from the county, this is also from the state. The state is monitoring water use. Cannabis is a new crop for us. It brings in a whole different element, different considerations and concerns. It is a bit more, as we've seen in several of the letters from the community members, a bit more industrial looking than what many of us are used to when we think of agriculture, and the way it was before the legalization of cannabis. So when it comes to water, too, I think the state is looking at also monitoring. I mean, we have SGMA programs throughout the state of California. We have, of course, the farmers are under the Irrigated Lands Program. This is just, I think we're all looking at what is the actual impact, and can our groundwater system sustain this new crop? So we do need monitoring. I'll go back to again, to the annual reports. I really look forward to, and I hope, because the annual report talks about, basically there's supposed to be this monitoring of the wells at all of the projects that we've approved for cannabis. That's supposed to be part of the annual report. If we could get a summation of that and we can see what's actually working and, you know, and how much is a cannabis plant actually using here in Lake County versus the program 6 gallons per plant, you know, that everybody just kind of bases things on. But if we could see actually what's happening here in Lake County, in our area, that would be awesome. The same thing with odor. And in this particular project, there were some noise issues also that were addressed or, you know, brought up. But, you know, with odor too, there's supposed to be a complaint system within each, you know, that people can call, which I'm still baffled at. I'm not sure how the public knows who to call with an odor complaint or with any complaint. But, you know, but that's supposed to be summarized in the annual report as well. And if we as a body here can get that information so we know what's working and what's not working, you know, I think we'd be better suited to be able to address, you know, some of the concerns from the public as well as our own concerns and feel more comfortable with our decision moving forward.
Yeah, we hear those concerns. I know they come up often at commission. I also do know, for what it's worth, that all of these issues are being considered with the Article 27 update and 73. And if Director Turner were here, I can hear her kind of saying that. But, you know, not to dismiss anything that any of the commissioners are saying, but just, I guess, maybe a kind reminder to look at what's before you instead of what we wish the regulations are. But
Yeah.
they're all very valid points.
And so let me ask one question. That's the one other question that I didn't ask in regard to the tree mitigation plan. That, of course, it's over a period of 7 years. What, with our cannabis projects that we currently have, that we have approved, what is the longest term of a operating cannabis operation approved project?
So the earliest cannabis projects were approved, I think, in late 2018. So right now, we're looking at 8 years of operations for some of our oldest projects. Currently, the projects do have a 10-year limited term for expiration. However, the board is considering removing that 10-year expiration because these cannabis permits are the only major and minor use permits that do have expiration.
Correct. And to that point, though, I also heard, because, and I'm sorry, we're getting a little off topic here or whatever, but there's also any permit that is inactive for 2 years goes away. And I also have heard that there is resistance from cannabis growers that, in asking to have that not apply to them while it applies to all other permits. So we need to have an even playing field here.
I can provide some clarity for that as well. Typically, the major use and minor use permit process for cannabis project does take quite a bit of time. With that, after the use permit is approved, that's when a lot of our applicants do finally apply for their state license. So if they were to opt out the first year of operations due to not having a state license, it's seen as a non-issue for the department because we recognize that it does take time to have both licenses in place in order to legally cultivate. With that, we've seen individual circumstances where property ownership has changed. So a new owner would come in under the guise of having 2 years to get their things in a row, but in fact, if they had opted out the year previous, we have some issues where that could become contradictory for the new permit holder. And again, this is something that the board is considering. We have not adopted any amendments to Article 27 as of yet, but the cultivators have requested that the 2 years of inactivity for expiration would only start the clock at the time the state license was issued. That way it would be during operations when we know they've already achieved all of their licensing goals.
That makes sense. I mean, that's kind of like a building permit on your house or whatever, you know, it's completed when the house is done kind of thing or whatever. So when all the requirements set forth in the permit are complete, yes, then that's probably when it should start. But to extend that 2 years of inactivity is not consistent with other permits. Anyway, that was off track, so I'll bring it back to you, Chair. Go for it.
Thank you. Just to share some of my concerns, I'm very concerned about the tree removal. 76 mature oak trees that are healthy, they just shouldn't be taken out. And I understand, you know, you're going to take some, you know, acorns and plant them. An acorn after a year is like this. I have them all over my garden. And to replace that tree, say it's a small little one, well, it's certainly beyond my lifetime. And I think that that while it sounds like a good idea, yes, we're going to plant some little oaks, the trade-off is I think a very poor one. And this is resource conservation land, timberland preserve, virgin land, and to cut down, you know, viable trees like that, I think that's not something that we want to do. My wonderment is there another spot on the property that doesn't have all these trees that might be viable for the project? Don't know that. But that's a real concern, as well as the water, and the right-of-way is still a little squishy in my mind. But I think for the general health and safety and welfare of the whole community, I don't know that this project is a true value add. So I'm kind of stuck there.
In regard to the trees, I have a little bit a different viewpoint on that. While I hate to see so many trees removed for development, but on the other hand, I look at also in housing tracts and you know, there, for better or for worse, we do move or remove trees for various different reasons. We also have, for better or for worse, Fair Plan, who doesn't want any trees or shrubbery or anything near your house. And we're taking out an incredible amount of stuff and we're basically cementing and rocking over everything, which is very sad. But anyway, in regard to this project, in some regards, while I'd like to see less tree removal as per Article 27, but the on one hand, a bit of tree removal and cleanup would help to improve the condition of the property also for fire safety means. So I have a little bit different perspective on that. I'd like to see it be half as many, but for the size of this project also. But we also, here in the county, we don't have a tree ordinance. So to guide us along those lines. And so again, I look at, you know, I'm making a decision based on policies that are currently in the books versus what I personally desire. So, but then I make my statements because I hope that certain policies change. So that we work on them to improve them. So.
I think that your statement was very well said. I guess this question going off of the tree removal and the replanting of the new seedlings, in terms of when the CEQA is being prepared, I guess this question goes to Michelle. We're saying that these 76 trees are going to be removed. In the eyes of CEQA, when we implement this, how should I call it, like replanting of
Correct, yeah.
of the saplings, does that actually balance out the removal of the trees in the eyes of CEQA? Like when if the state were to look at it and say, okay, like you're taking out this many, this diameter to this diameter, and you're replanting this, does that actually, like, does it actually balance out the effect of the removal of the trees?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the standard, I hate to use the word standard, but the best practice, I should say, in requirements by California Fish and Wildlife are that 3-to-1 ratio, and that has been an accepted mitigation ratio for removal of trees. I've also seen some comments recently come in, I can't even think of the projects right now, but just about all of the sudden oak death and how a lot of them may be dying, and so some people think that it's helpful to remove oaks. I'm not saying that's the case here, but you see a lot of interesting information regarding this. But I can say that the best practice and the sort of accepted practice is that 3-to-1 ratio.
Yeah. And I guess, and also when we look at that replanting of these trees, you know, you 3-to-1, you know, eventually it might, you know, will balance out. But also once we have, you know, if this project were to move forward, you have someone on the property, constant maintenance, hazardous vegetation management, emergency water storage that could be used for, you know, fighting fires. But it goes also into, you know, now we have human activity, which is, you know, so it's a lot of things to deal with in trying to make a decision, because it's very difficult to find that sweet spot for these projects. And you know, I understand, I hear the community and what their concerns are, but I also think that it's not necessarily fair for a property owner to do what he can and is allowed to do on a property. So trying to balance those two things out, because I believe also that, you know, the property owners have rights as well. And as well as the community, they have their rights to continue having their, you know, their peace of mind. But it comes down to those interactions with, you know, these two parties in communication, where we are adding conditions of approval to mitigate some of those concerns. You know, the hydrology reports also give a better idea of what's actually going on in the area. Hydrology reports, I really enjoy reading these because we focus not on the entire aquifer, but just on the property itself, totaling, or the two parcels totaling the 84.6 acres. And then the actual use, and then we get to the breakdown where we have the recharge or the storage capacity, and then what's going to be used. And it's, you know, we can see it here. I mean, I'm not a hydrologist myself, but being able to break it down like that the actual property is self-sustained for its water use. So the concerns that I had initially, you know, from reading everything and trying to hear from both sides and making my decision for today, I think they've been mitigated, and I can understand and see where, you know, the concerns that are there have been you know, from reading all the reports and hearing the applicants' responses and staff's work, that it can be mitigated. So that's where I'm standing on for the project right now. And any decision that we take, you know, today is always difficult, but it's you know, it's part of the choices that we're you know, that we have to make today.
Well, I think one of the difficulties is because this is on TPZ. This is not a zoned parcel that is typical, that we typically see agriculture projects presented. I don't know when the last time an agricultural project was presented on, you know, such a parcel. And so on one hand, you know, you look at, you know, listening to everybody from the public, you know, that's concerned, and I totally understand. My mother would very much like me to be in church every Sunday, and I choose not to go to church. I choose to go for a walk at Boggs Mountain, or, you know, something of that sort. That's kind of my church. And so I get where you're coming from, and the peace and the quiet and all of that goes with, actually, with so much of what Lake County represents and why we all moved here. Change is difficult, and what we're dealing with is that we have a new crop that we're learning how to navigate. There are, again, someone, not me, but somebody decided that we could put cannabis in TPZ, and so that's what we're dealing with today. However, you know, TPC also has, you know, other possibilities that go with that, is tree logging and what have you, which also would be very disruptive, you know, in the community. And so it just, I guess it's adjusting to change. And unfortunately, if we don't own the property owner does have a right to do what they wish to do with their property, you know, when we try on this planet, try to work together to the best of our ability. I do appreciate the condition as far as to change the main traffic route to head north on Siegler Road. But then I also wonder what those folks down at the north end of Siegler are going to think about this. So, anyway, I'm still considering and welcome any further comments.
I do want to just provide a little comment on TPC. Uses permitted by right, 6.5A does allow for the management of lands and forests for the primary use of commercial production and harvesting of trees. So I just wanted to let the commission know that it is a use by right in timberland preserve to forest trees, yeah.
Do you have any other comments?
So the taking of the trees, regardless of their being processed or sold, is a permitted right, is what you're saying?
Yeah, for the management of lands.
For the management of lands. And that definition is because you want
It states the management of lands and forests for the primary use of commercial production and harvest of trees.
to, okay, so
It also says in the next one, removal of timber, including uses integrally related to growing, harvesting, and on-site processing of forest production, including but not limited to roads, logs, landings, log storage areas, and incidental logging camps during harvest.
okay. I don't know that that 100% applies, but I appreciate having that definition. That gives a little more food for thought. Any other questions? Commissioner Brown, anything else?
So I guess the question here is among us, you know, what, are there things that we're uncomfortable with that we need more information on to be able to come to a decision? Are we looking at taking a vote on this today, or are we looking at possibly continuing this?
Okay. I think
So,
you were-
yeah.
did
Yeah,
answer
so
what he was gonna say.
The last question I have, and I know this is always a sticking point for me, is the cultural resource study. But I know that it was mentioned Middletown Rancheria was entered into consultation, and that's been concluded. Consultation, do you have a letter from the tribe saying they've formally closed consultation, or?
Yeah, we did formally close consultation, and in an agreement that they will enter into a tribal monitoring agreement with Middletown Rancheria.
Okay, so the county closed and also Middletown closed?
Middletown actually helped us prepare the mitigation measures that the 6 ones that we have in there today. We actually worked with Middletown Rancheria on those specific mitigation measures.
Okay, thank you.
So to respond to your question, is there a proposal? I could vote, but is there a proposal that somebody would like to bring forward?
I am prepared to make a motion if there's no further discussion. We could discuss holding the vote or voting now. I'm prepared to do it now.
Commissioner Rosenthal, what is you ready to vote now, or you would like to make a proposal for something else?
I'm fine.
With,
I'm fine with voting now, because I can't really identify anything that I would instruct staff to do better other than changing our policies and improving their standards and raising the standards. So I can't do that today.
And then I guess my only direction to staff would be to try to demonstrate more cumulative impact to the project site with the other sites in location, the other applications and grows and any water. That's kind of where I have trouble, because we say we have to address the cumulative impact, but I don't feel like we've ever really done it in specific project. I mean, and it's hard to do, but I guess I'd like to see more information in that regard, if possible, when it can be provided. I know it's not going to be something we can get every project, but the best we can do on projects of this scale, I think would be a great opportunity to provide additional information to at least help myself get to feel comfortable with the vote that I'm making. And again, I guess the other comment I would leave is that in 7 years, I'm probably not going to be sitting here to bring up the question of, did those oak trees survive?
Right.
Did the mitigation plan actually work? And I don't think an incoming commissioner would be asking that question. But I've talked to other commissioners from the county, and once they leave, they're kind of like, I don't want to hear nothing about anything else again.
Except for the few of us that come back.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. And that's a very rare situation, I believe. But yeah, that's, I guess, where my concerns are. And other questions I would ask down the road is to try to gather that information, and even from the applicant and yourself, Trey, anything you can do to gather as much information. And I know you've met your requirements, so just, that would help me have a better peace of mind too. Thank you.
Yeah, and to that point, the cannabis, what's it called, cannabis department? That's what they look for is, or they're encouraging, I see that in several of our reports, is a cumulative effects of water, of odor, noise, and air. So,
Yeah, that's a theme for us, we ask that.
yes, and roads. So
And
that's
roads.
not in the cumulative effects, but we do have, yeah, and to that point too, Siegel Canyon, or the Siegler Road is not in great shape. So, and that's not any project that's coming forward, or resident, that's not their issue. It is, of course, a county issue. And I'd love to see that road improved. It's a great place to ride or walk, as somebody had said. So, thank you.
All right, with that, I'm prepared to make a motion. I move that the planning commission find that potential impacts associated with the project applied for by Siegler Springs North LLC, Forest Alley, can be mitigated to less than significant through the implementation of the mitigated negative declaration for the property located at 11615 and 11625 Siegler Springs North Road, Kelseyville. The APN is 115-007-03 and 115-007-06 will not have a significant effect on the environment, and that the Planning Commission adopt the initial study PL 26-115, IS 21-18, with the findings listed in the staff report dated June 11th, 2026.
All in favor of that motion?
I'll second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Oh, I didn't get there. And opposed? No. 2-2, so it fails? Is that correct? Is that correct?
That is correct. Although, let me double check to see.
I believe that is correct, that if it's a tie, that it,
Yes, it is a failure, but it is a no, effectively, by function. However, let me double check to make sure, to see if it is an automatic appeal. Yeah, I think it is an automatic
so
appeal,
it's
but let me
appealed
just,
the same as any other. Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, moving forward, I move that the Planning Commission find that the major use permit PL 26-115, UP 21-17 applied for by Siegler Springs North LLC, Forest Alley, for the property located at 11615 and 11625 Siegler Springs North Road, Kelseyville, APNs 115-007-03 and 115-007-06, does meet the requirements of the Lake County zoning ordinance, Article 27 and Article 51.4, and that the major use permit be granted based on the findings listed in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval dated June 11th, 2026.
I'll second.
All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
And then I did find the section, if that's helpful.
Yeah, so this section is Article 58, Section 58.42, and it does read that if the Planning Commission results in a tie vote, the matter shall be deemed to be automatically denied at the first hearing and appealed to the Board of Supervisors for public hearing.
So does the same, is 7 days period?
No, it's an automatic appeal. So it is
Oh,
now by virtue, by operation of the ordinance, an automatic appeal.
Okay.
It does also say that automatic appeals pursuant to this section shall not be subject to filing fees as provided for in other parts of the zoning ordinance. So it automatically goes to the board.
So, everybody understand that? Okay, all right, thank you very much. Okay, it's 2:15. No, he's gonna stay till 3. And so I'd like to stay till 3:30, so we can you wanna do Coco next? What is your thought? I think it would be faster. Yeah. Okay.
So we're on 3 now?
We're gonna do Coco because the other one may take longer and you and I will be gone. Oh, can we just take a break for about till 2:25, please? We need to consult on a strategy here. All right, welcome back. We will be considering 6C, our 9:35 item. And let me just let everyone know that in about an hour, we will lose our quorum. So we'll get as far along as possible. So, okay. Consideration of major use permit PL-25-71, Pasta Farms 3, 1833DS, LLC, Peter Simon, and a mitigated negative declaration for amendment to use permit expansion from 20 acres to a maximum of 30.11 acres of outdoor commercial cannabis canopy. Type 4 nursery and type 13 distribution, self-transport only, license located at 10750, 10417, and 10145 Sigler Springs North Road, 10800, 1033, 9864. I guess that's one parcel. 9954 11000 Diener Drive, and 9954 Salmina Road, APN 115-004-05, 115-04401, 100-169-48, 115-004-08, 115-001-21, 115-001-29, 115-004-07, 115-006-18, 115-005-03, and 011-047-06.
Thank you, Commissioners. Staff is going to ask for a brief technical recess as we were locked out of sharing our screen capabilities in Zoom, so we're working on that right now.
How long would you like?
We'll give it a couple of minutes, and in the
Do you
meanwhile,
want to do 5 minutes?
5 minutes is fine, and in the meanwhile, I would like the applicant to come and join us.
Okay, that'll be fine. We'll be back in business at 2:35. Thank you. Yeah.
You can say as for the properties as further described in the report.
Oh, thank you. I was sort of getting lost and thinking, wait a minute, which line am I on? They're all the same.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, and.
Okay, thank you.
The agenda was posted, it was noticed in, the APNs are noticed in the notice so that the public can
Okay.
be aware of each property.
Okay.
But, everybody's looking at the agenda, so you don't have to, you can say as further described in the report
Okay.
and cite the report.
Can I just say, item at 9 point,
I just don't remember.
at 35, and have them just look at the agenda item. I don't have to even read it to them. It seems sort of silly, I'm reading it to them.
No, that's part of the record.
And that's okay.
Of it, but, APN numbers are specific identifiers, so that we're all looking at the properties.
Specifically, yeah. Okay,
My understanding is staff takes the notice, copies and pastes it on the agenda. So,
okay,
I could be wrong, but I think that's what we're doing, so that's why all of those are still in there.
okay. All right, but thank you. That's a little, breathe. Yeah, say.
You should have seen the Guanacolis.
Yes, yeah, yeah. What is this that you gave me? Ooh, limoncello. Limoncello. Ooh, fancy. Does it also have the limoncello kick to it? Yes, ma'am. Oh, okay, so okay, so, oh, this is on. So when we come back, you want to address that? Yeah, let's do that right away. So can I just, that Cocoa Farms has asked for a date and time continuance? Okay.
Let me ask them and then I'll write it all down for you. That way you can read it in.
Yeah, I need to know what to say. I know.
I will be in South Dakota on the 25th, so I won't be here.
That's a weenie excuse. I'm gonna be out of town. No, you're gonna be way out of town. Okay. Okay. So then I'll say under the motion. Oh, then you're gonna miss this. Yeah, we'll figure out how to zoom you in on your vacation, huh? Swell. Okay. Okay, you guys back and running again? Yes. Okay, so I'm ready to come back. Ready to come back? All right. Ready to go. All right, thank you. Technical difficulties are taken care of. I'd like to make a proposal that Lake Cocoa Farms PL-25-155 have their hearing moved to a date specific, June 25th at 9:30. I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the change of date?
Aye.
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 Okay. So, thank you for that. So, we will resume where we were on the Pastor Farms expansion request.
Thank you, Chair Zoller. Good afternoon, Commission. Mary Claiborne, Senior Planner, Community Development Department. Today for consideration is Major Use Permit Amendment PL-25-71 for a maximum of 3.11 acres of outdoor commercial cannabis canopy, Type 4 nursery, and Type 13 distribution self-transport only license. The applicant and farm manager are present here to speak after staff's presentation. The site is located in the Cobb Mountain area within District 5. It is approximately 3.3 miles south of the Clear Lake Riviera community growth boundary as seen on the map there. The site consists of partially developed land in an agricultural setting. According to the Biological Survey, which is attachment 7 to staff's report, there are no aquatic resources on site. Surrounding land uses include rural residential properties, undeveloped forested land, and vineyards. Access to the property is via Siegler Springs North Road or Diener Drive, and the total combined parcel size is approximately 602.48 acres. Existing uses at the site include 20 acres of outdoor commercial cannabis canopy with perimeter fencing, one 27,201 square foot processing building with ADA compliant restroom, 480 square foot of office space, 20,400 square feet of agricultural shade house membrane structures, a 2,400 square foot greenhouse, a pesticide storage shed, equipment storage, a 3,000 square foot compost area, a 15 by 15 foot cannabis waste area, a 300,000 gallon steel water tank, and irrigation water tanks. The purpose of this amendment is to combine the two approved major use permits, UP 20-11 and UP 22-31, and expand the canopy from 20 acres to 30.11 acres with new appurtenant facilities. The new construction includes 39,900 square foot processing building, a 40,000 square foot nursery for immature plants, a 1,925 square foot accessory structure, a 3,200 square foot accessory structure, and 2 300-gallon steel water storage tanks. The cultivation site meets the setback of 100 feet from the property lines. The nearest off-site residence is approximately 300 feet from the proposed cultivation area. The project meets property line setbacks and exceeds off-site residence setbacks. Notification of this project under AB 52 was sent to local tribes with Aboriginal territory in and around Lake County on October 20th, 2025. Middletown Rancheria's Tribal Historic Preservation Officer responded to the notification, stating the project falls within the tribe's area of concern and requested consultation. Tribal consultation was formally closed on March 17th, 2026, and tribal comment is available as Attachment 11 to staff's report. A point of interest for this project is oak tree removal. The applicant proposes to develop 1.8 acres of the property for construction of a nursery and processing building. Preparing the site for development will require the conversion of an established oak woodland. 362 oak trees are proposed to be removed. Oak Mitigation Plan. Under the Oak Woodlands Protection Act, Lake County shall require one or more oak woodland alternatives to mitigate the significant effect of conversion of oak woodlands, including replacing removed trees at a rate of 3-to-1 and maintaining these trees pursuant to Section 4526 of Senate Bill Number 1334, terminating 7 years after the trees are planted. 1,086 black oaks will be planted, protected, and irrigated for 7 years to mitigate tree removal within the woodland. The removal of trees requires a complex grading permit to be obtained, and all grading and earthwork is to be in compliance with Chapter 30 of the Lake County Municipal Code. The Oak Mitigation Plan by Jacob Zunes and Associates is Attachment 9 to staff's report. Another point of interest, water use. The water availability analysis by EBA Engineering determined that the on-site cannabis irrigation practices are optimized by using advanced irrigation. Water use data provided for existing operations at the site was estimated to be approximately 0.88 gallons per day per plant. This reduced water demand is attributed to smaller plant sizes, optimized spacing, and efficient irrigation methods. The annual total water demand for the project is 107.37 acre-feet per year. Estimated volume of groundwater in storage is 6,593 acre-feet. The annual proposed water demand is estimated to be 1.6% of the groundwater in storage in the underlying the project site. The water availability analysis concludes that the project's water use will not result in overdraft conditions. Approved projects within 3 miles. There are 9 approved projects within a 3-mile radius as identified in the staff report on pages 13 and 14. That also has the list of the use permit numbers and the total canopy that is approved. Those first 2 projects are actually this project site, so I wanted to point that out to the commission, that those would be combined into one project and not have an additional stacking of use permits, so to speak. The project was analyzed under the Lake County General Plan, Chapter 3, Land Use, Chapter 7, Health and Safety, Chapter 8, Noise, and Chapter 11, Water Resources. The Cobb Mountain Area Plan was also analyzed, as well as the Lake County Zoning Ordinance, Article 5, Agriculture, Article 7, Rural Lands, and Article 27, Uses Generally Permitted. The 2026 CEQA guidelines and DCC state regulations were also reviewed. All impacts to the environment could be mitigated to less than significant with mitigation measures incorporated and outlined in the draft mitigated negative declaration and draft conditions of approval. The public comment period occurred for the draft ISMND from April 5th to May 6th, 2026. Recommendations. Adopt mitigated negative declaration for use permit PL-25-71 with the findings listed in staff's report. Major use permit recommendations. Approve use permit PL-25-71 with the proposed conditions of approval and with the findings listed in the staff report. Next page. And that concludes my presentation. I am available for questions and comments, and additionally, the applicant would like to speak with the commission and share a little bit more information about the project.
Before we do that, any questions for staff? Okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Peter Simon. I'm here with Sam Edwards from the Pasta Farm. I won't repeat the information we included in our application, but I do want to highlight a couple things. I also want to be very brief, but I will be happy to answer any questions you have. I know that we're short on time. There's a lot of information that came up in the comments. And also, we had the opportunity of listening to the last hearing that just came up before, which I think highlights a lot of the concerns that I think that the commission has about these projects. And I want to focus on some of the things that set this project apart from many other projects. Many of the comments talked about the impact of a 30-acre grow on an area, and they were talking 35 million gallons of new water use. That is incorrect. That is not what we have here. You have a 20-acre grow already in existence with using water use. And in contrast to many other projects, we have historical knowledge about what we actually use. So some of the comments were made like, what are the theoretical or potential impacts? We know what they actually are in our application. We're seeking 10 additional acres and the opportunity, because you have to include them in your use permit. We don't like iterative use permit applications. We're also seeking some things that further down the road we might be able to utilize to benefit the grow. And I want to hit on some of the topics that people talked about specifically. And the first one I want to talk about real briefly is fire. Everybody's always concerned about fire, but there's almost no use that humans are involved with that doesn't potentially trigger fire. What separates our project is that right now we have 65,000 gallons of water dedicated to fire suppression. We have 300,000 gallons available for fire suppression. When we're done, if our project's approved, we'll have 1.2 million gallons of water available for fire suppression that could be used to fight the fires that were shown by the Mountain Sanctuary folks to our neighbors for this whole area. They're tanks that are accessible to CAL FIRE. Oaks, I know that's been a topic for many of you. The area where we're talking about putting the buildings, which is where the oak mitigation or the oak removal would take place, is a highly dense area with, and I think Commissioner Rosenthal was able to see this, it's a highly dense area with a lot of fallen dead wood. We would probably want to thin that area even if we weren't pursuing an application. It's an unhealthy area where the oaks aren't doing well. We plan to move them to an area that has been cleared that used to be vineyard and walnut orchards that is available with irrigation already in place to be able to facilitate the growth of oaks in an area where there are none now. So it would be taking, I would say, a 3 out of 10 oak site and turning it into a +10 oak site. The biggest issue that I think always comes up is water. And the main thing I would like to draw your attention to on our water analysis is that we used EBA, who is a hydrogeological survey. We can use anybody we want. If you probably see people come up from one side, oftentimes proponents using them, or you'll see somebody from another company who will show up and be talking about, oh, here's all the problems with them. EBA is approved by the county, numerous other municipalities, the State Water Board, and has been utilized repeatedly to oppose projects. We went to them for our water analysis because we wanted to ensure we were not going to have an undue impact on ourselves, our water resources, or our neighbors. There was concern in the comments that were put up there about people talking about 35 million, that's a lot of water. I think they should not be concerned about 35 million gallons. They should be comforted by it. Last year, we know this, last year we used 13.5 million gallons of water when we had for our 20-acre approved project. Yet the project we're seeking is for 30 acres. And what we have is an overly conservative estimate to ensure that we aren't impacting it. At 35 million gallons, EBA concluded that including in dry and drought years, there will be more than enough water to facilitate more water than we ever plan to use on our site. And that's important because what we actually know how much we've used in the past and the amount, and as we grow, we're able to be more efficient with water, and we're also able to then have more than enough. We have been operating since 2020. Our wells have recharged every year. We've had no issues with our water. We've had no issues or impacts. Our closest neighbor is about a quarter mile away. And I know there was some talk about the radius of influence, but the radius of influence of either of our wells, the furthest one, is 330 feet. That's 1,650 feet away is what our neighbor is, and they're saying that if they were 331 feet, they wouldn't be there. No matter how much weight you give to the radius of influence, whether you think it's definitive or not, it is at least instructive to a degree. And when it's 5 times further away than EBA is saying would be impacted by any of our water use, I think that should weigh heavily in the analysis in favor of not finding that there's an impact with the water. The other thing that I think is important to note here is that the way we got into this project, I'm not a cannabis guy historically. We had grapes here. It was grapes and walnuts, and we were in the process of pulling some of the walnuts out to add grapes. We could probably put about 200 acres of grapes on this property. So when you're comparing the use of this with all the processes, you need to be looking at what would happen if we put grapes in there instead. And the estimate that you have for grapes is somewhere between 200,000 and 600,000 gallons per acre for grapes. That's 40 million to 120 million gallons of water that would otherwise be used on this site without this type of oversight. So yes, we'll be using water, but no, we will not have problems recharging. No, there will not be a shortage. And it is a whole lot less than it would be if our project were not pursuing this. The other thing that's important to note is that because of the limitations of the 5% limitation on the amount of space we have, many of the comments about open space, community and such, sure, as you drive down Siegler Springs Road, there will be a little area where there's cannabis grows. But what it is preserving is approximately 550 acres of land for open space, for animals, for fauna, for flora, for water recharge. That's what this project is allowing, because there's not other areas. We don't have a significant creek going down the middle of our grow. One comment was made, the right project in the wrong place. This is the right project in the right place. And final comment I would make is that the impact of adding one cannabis plant to somebody that doesn't have one can be significant. It creates a smell, an obstruction, a visual presence that wasn't there before. Adding a third plant to 2 does not have a significant impact. And what we're talking about doing here is adding that third plant, relatively speaking, that is not going to have the same 50% increase in impacts, because the number of employees that are necessary is not going to increase by that rate. The amount of water we're going to have is not going to increase by that rate. The amount of resources, machinery, everything else is going to be it's going to increase efficiency. Thus, the marginal impacts that are increased are going to be de minimis. With that, I'm happy to make sure I'm not missing any points. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions before I do open for public comment?
Just question number one. Yes, Mr. Simon, it was very fortunate that you were second on the list today.
Yeah.
So, but I have a question for staff. If you could explain a little bit about the clustering aspect of this project?
Sure. So the total parcels acreage combined is 602 plus acres. When we look at clustering or co-location, what we're doing is borrowing density from a parcel that's held under identical ownership and has an adjacent lot line to the other project parcels. So with that, while there are several parcels proposed for this project, not all of these parcels will have development on them. And I can pull up the site plan that can show where the development will occur, if that would please the commission.
That'd be helpful.
While we're pulling up the site plans, I would like to provide additional context. On page 5 of the staff report, it does list all locations. The first 3 parcels listed are cultivation parcels. The 4th cultivation parcel is actually for cultivation facilities, and then the remaining 6 parcels are used for clustering purposes only and do not propose development on those parcels. So while this does not show the lot lines of the parcels, this does show the area proposed for development. The yellow is the existing facilities. The shaded red there is the proposed new garden areas for cannabis canopy. And then the blue area there is where the nursery and processing building are proposed to be located.
And that's where the tree removal would be?
That is where the tree removal would be, and we can pull up the oak mitigation plan if that would please the commission. We can go into that topic next. Okay.
And I would like to just add real quick that, as Mr. Simon said, I probably am familiar with it because I did go out on a site visit a couple months ago, met with Mr. Simon and Sam there at the site along with Supervisor Helen Owen, and did have the opportunity to tour the site, just a quick 10-minute, 15-minute tour. So to kind of see what was existing, he did as I asked him, you know, if he had a project coming before this commission, and as he said, yes, but at that point too, the date was unknown. So, but anyway, so I did do a site visit.
We're working on pulling up that oak mitigation map as well.
In that previous slide that showed the shading, I noticed some white squares on the main cultivation area. Are those temporary houses that are there right now?
There's a bit, when you were, the white squares were, some of them was our, what we call our processing building, our dry building. And then there were some areas that may have been our, either, we have a couple of hoops that may have also appeared to be white, and I think there was also some rows. We mulch to try to increase water efficiency. So that also may have been some of the, what you saw as the white.
Okay, but the only building currently is that one on the northern side of the road, right?
In the cultivation area, that is correct.
Okay.
There's a little canopy and there's a well area, but neither of those are buildings.
Yeah, like there.
Yeah.
The only building is that white one on the top.
Yeah, the white one on the upper right-hand side of that, the ones below that are not buildings.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant or for the staff before I open for public comment? Okay, hearing none, I will open for public comment. Please step forward from the chambers, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Hello again, Commission. My name is Alexander Powell from the Mountain of Attention. I just met Mr. Simon today, and we spoke recently. I think we did not get the notice for the expansion. It just turned out it was on the docket with the previous applicant, and so when we saw the water usage, we were kind of alarmed. I was going to try to present here I just wanted to show you the map that we had put together. I'm not able to do it, unfortunately. Goodness, can't share. Well, in any case, the main thing was I just wanted to show that it actually bordered the other applicant. And so that was that was our main concern. And one thing I didn't get to say because my time ran out last time, I'm going to do it this time. Our well went dry 3 years ago for the first time in 52 years since we've been stewards of that property. And that was very alarming, as you can imagine. So that's why I was cautious, and Mr. Simon and I spoke, and he's been very helpful in responding to our hydrologist in terms of getting the data. It can, things like this can be very misrepresented. As you noted, there were discrepancies in the 2 last hydrology reports, and, that well is actually within 200 feet of the creek. And it's just the way it is, but what can you do, right? We can deal with that with the Board of Supervisors. But I just wanted to mention that, the concerns about water, in which he's speaking to. And also when in the trees, we just hired someone to help us with the new oak borer beetle. Have you heard of this? Devastating. We've already, it didn't, apparently supposed to go above 2,100 feet. We're at 2,400 feet. We've found infested trees, and we got to attack it quickly because it will devastate oaks. So we have that in addition to the sudden oak death and the bark. There's a lot going on with the climate changing. And so I think that was our concerns too. And I just wanted to kind of mention those 2 things as main concerns, not as alarmist, not necessarily kind of to necessarily oppose. For this one, I just wanted to mention that. It's just really, like you've been saying, these are things that we need to kind of be attentive to. And also, I think, forgive me, but I think it is within your power to insist on longer-term water testing. That's my understanding with the commission. It is within your power. So maybe that refers to the last one because Mr. Simon is helping us with the data. But I think that's just a couple of things I wanted to say, and thank you for your time again.
Thank you. Anyone else from the chambers?
Hello again, Duncan Gamlin, Fire Marshal at the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary. I'll forego the pictures for you. You've already seen them. So I just want to say there's just a few points that I want to make, and that my objection is continued growth in what we call the WUI, the Wildland Urban Interface, and in this particular one, it's in the very high severity zone. It's a bad combination. So, and then the cumulative effects of all those approved grows in this area, it's cumulative and it's risky. There are abandoned vineyards all showing up all over, and they would make very good places to grow with better access. All the upside, none of the downside. I don't know why we're still continuing to do this. And I'd just like you to think about it. The other thing is I was going to reiterate what Alex just said. We have an artesian well, which is very likely why the ancestors of the Pomos settled on this property because the water was just coming out of the ground. Hello. And then they had hot springs nearby where they could camp and bathe and do their, the rituals. That was for 5,000 years before it was acquired by settlers here. We've only owned it for 50 years. It's never run dry. And it did, and we had to pump the aquifer for the first time, maybe the first time in 5,000 years. So water is compromised. Let me look at my time. Again, on CEQA, CEQA, however, asks whether impacts have been analyzed and mitigated, not just boxes checked on a form. So there's a larger responsibility for staff to really dig in. Well, what is really going on here, and what what should we look at deeper than what is just on the form? And to correct my comment, by the way, I'm very impressed with your grow. As a former grower, I think you guys have done an excellent job. I live on that road. Oh yeah, no, I'm a mile down the road. Come on by, we'll give you a tour. Okay. Okay. And my quote was, "It's the right product in the wrong place." So, not project.
Okay.
And again, we should be looking for opportunities to place these grows in other areas that are not as risky as the forested areas of Cobb Mountain. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Margot Kambara. The project intends to remove 362 oak trees. 362 trees. The size and the age of the trees are not mentioned. It doesn't make sense to remove healthy oaks, especially mature oaks, when the Board of Supervisors renews monthly since 2022 a proclamation of existence of a local emergency due to pervasive tree mortality. While the staff report describes mitigation measures, it does not describe consideration of feasible alternatives or reasons alternatives such as relocating or reconfiguring the grow sites, why that's not feasible. At minimum, trees of a certain diameter at breast height, DBH, should be preserved. The diameters of the trees, again, are not known, and if there are blue oaks, a smaller DBH should be considered since they are slow growers. An ancient blue oak can be mistaken for a young tree. Replacing trees as tree removal mitigation has limited success. Survival rate is poor. Overall, to preserve oaks, it's best not to remove them. Donna Makowitz, the environmental representative on the General Plan Advisory Committee, circulated among GPAC committee members a proposed tree preservation and protection ordinance. As the county seeks to distinguish itself as a premier outdoor destination, attention to developing a tree preservation and protection ordinance is strongly recommended. Till then, the county has until the county has that tree preservation and protection ordinance, great attention should be given to avoid cutting and clear cutting of mature trees. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could make a point of clarification.
All right.
Just so you know, at page 3 of 7 of the oak mitigation plan. I'm sorry, at page 3 of 7 of the oak mitigation plan, it does set forth the details of the trees. There are no blue oaks, and only 3 of the trees are over 20 inches.
Thank you.
Yes. Was staff still going to pull up that report?
Any other comments from the chambers?
Lynn Wagner. I'm a local resident, homeowner in the area. I just am expressing as a longtime Lake County lover and member of the Lake County Arts Council and the arts community here, that I'm concerned that our peaceful, quiet, rural community, where we've chosen to purchase a home and live, is being turned into a commercial farming venture that's very close to our community of, residential homes and where we raise our families. I haven't really prepared a speech because I'm just here to express a feeling as a Lake County homeowner that I really would prefer that, as I guess the gentleman who spoke before me was saying, that maybe it could be relocated to other areas where commercial farming, large operations with noise and trucks, and I walk on those roads, on North Cicola Road. My husband and I were both in our late 70s and not looking forward to having trucks go back and forth carrying loads of equipment or product, whatever that is. So I wish I could be more technical about what I'm saying, but it's more of an emotional appeal, I think, that I can make. Thank you for considering this seriously, and I'm really glad that we have a planning commission that does really look at these issues about how the community is developing, what's happening here, and not just wholesale, well, big money is coming in, let's take advantage of it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone on Zoom?
I do have to step out and travel.
Pardon me?
Can I have my last 18 seconds?
Just a second. We're transitioning here. losing
Thank you,
someone.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. You had 18 more seconds?
He was watching the clock.
All right, come on up.
So, as Duncan Gamlin again, I live on that road. It's a really terrible road. It's not posted, and people are driving 55 miles an hour on the road. Some of your guys, yeah, and there's a few ladies that drive by in their Mercedes, and my dog and I are leaping off the road into the drainage ditch. So, just want to make that comment.
Sir, I have a question for you. Duncan? Yeah, that was actually my, I'm glad that you came up because that was, I wanted to ask you what your experience has been for the last, how many years has this operation
2
been?
years that I've been
For the
there.
last 2 years, and what you've noticed in terms of traffic, noise, odor, from your experience these last 2 years.
Well, I don't hear Pasta, but I do hear Gray Road. They're right above where the cabin where I live, and they're extremely noisy. There's lots of traffic. It's not even a gravel road. It's dusty. It's a real disturbance, and and then people will come in and trucks will come out and. On our property, they come onto our property, and then they go out and they find the right property, and then they drive by with incredible odor coming off the trucks. I'm like, yikes, good luck driving into Oakland that way.
But that's not this.
Which project is that?
Project, right?
That's Gray Road,
Gray Road.
I pointed out those hoop houses on that picture.
Oh,
9185 Gray Road.
okay.
Yeah, so I guess, the comment I was looking for was specific to this one, which, I mean, that's also good that you can share your experience with other farms.
Yeah.
But I think it's good that, you said you live down the road from this project here, so, your opinion is, very much
Yeah,
taken into
you know,
consideration, and,
more with Gray Road, not with these guys.
Yeah.
I did have to take your son out of a ditch, so, on our property.
Uh-oh. I'll talk to you after.
Yeah, okay.
We are very adamant about people driving carefully on our road from our.
They did a three-point turn in a bad location and got stuck. Oh, he probably didn't tell you about it. I'm throwing him under the bus.
Excuse me.
Okay,
Yeah, I guess that just kind of goes into what this should be about the community engaging with, these projects and having a positive experience. Because that's what it's all about, really, being good neighbors, taking care of each other when it needs to be. So, from what I heard right now, it sounds like, you guys are good players in that area compared to other ones that they could easily point out, so.
your comments were interesting because we often don't hear about existing operations and the impact to the neighborhood as you shared with us. Thank you. Were there any other comments from the chambers? Is there anyone on Zoom? All right, so why don't we start to work through those?
Do you want me to speak now?
Yes, please. State your name and you have 3 minutes.
I sent a presentation. It's only 4 slides. Is it possible to share that on the screen?
Sure.
I sent it to the planning staff as well as the commission. If you can't, it's okay. But it'd be very helpful.
Why don't you go ahead and summarize? They're taking a look, see if they can find them. So go ahead and summarize your comments, please. Go ahead, please. Do we lose them?
Hello?
Hello, someone there? You there?
I'm not the man who was speaking who disappeared a moment ago.
All right.
But I would like to speak if this is the time.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and go on while we're trying to find the other guy.
Sure. I'm William Stranger again. I live 100 yards south of Gray Road, across, right on the road, across from Duncan. My wife and I came here 10 years ago. We had lived actually over in the Siegler Springs subdivision when we were burned out in the Valley Fire. Had to leave for a few years, came back and elected to come here, return on 27, mainly because of the peace and quiet of this road and our enjoyment of the community of people, both members of our community and others, who walk this very rare road in Lake County. If you get around Lake County, roads are winding. Most of them are inclines. Very few are suited for a leisurely long walk. And here, friends of ours and others will drive from a mile or two away to get out with their dogs, their families, and to walk this road. And I'm getting more and more concerned about the volume of traffic coming down from the dirt road, which is about a third of a mile to the north of us and runs up to the Pasta Farm grow. Coming down here, I've already expressed to you, and I thought it went by rather quickly, my concerns about the water loss we've already suffered. I don't really know that we understand the aquifers here with anything like the detail to measure how much of that also has been contributed to by Pasta Farms and by the possibility of this grow. But even more than that, I'd like to say to the commission here, and especially to the member, unfortunately, to your left, Madam Chair, who left, that there are all these individual parameters that quite rightly you need to measure, and to give an analysis. But I think we all live long enough to know that breaking things down into little bits of an analytic form, while necessary, doesn't always communicate the whole. And the whole is that we've been enduring this Pasta Farms grow. We watched them move and develop a little bit more discretion about armed guards and so on. But it's still a vast removal of animal habitat in the area and a kind of a change in the psyche and the peacefulness of it. And I think enlarging that without us really understanding the hydrology, the deep hydrology of the area, without understanding the traffic impacts that sometimes the traffic will begin here at 6:30 in the morning with people coming to work, and the industrial noise. I'm very concerned about that. I think that the previous speaker, Lynn Wagner, expressed it well when she said, didn't want this to be turned into a commercial area. But it is becoming that. It's becoming an ag commercial area, and there's such vast, unused, uninhabited tracts, even not far from here, where the grows could be extended that I really wish that we would take a long pause, add in other elements. The sacred element that I brought to this commission a while ago, I know it doesn't measure on, it's not on the radar. It's the profundity of our lives, and it's the profundity of the Native American communities here too. So I'd like to appeal for a pause, a wider vision, a deeper study, and including in friendship with the current managers of the Pasta Farms. I bear them no ill will. Simply that.
Thank you. May I ask a question? Did you say that there were armed guards? Is that did you say that?
Previously, when they started that grow, there were armed guards out front. Yes, it was a concern. I assumed they were under some kind of threat of people stealing their plants and so on. But yeah, for a couple of years, we endured people with pistols on their sides wearing military-looking uniforms, dark clothes. Yeah, I think they've taken that concern into account. I haven't seen that in a while, and like I said, I'm not at all impugning their character.
Right. Okay. I heard you make the comment. I just wanted a little more clarification. Yeah. Thank you very much.
And I would have please begged the commission to also look at the effects on animal habitat. It is shrinking enormously around here, and what happens is those animals we've had cougars now coming into this rural area nearby, so on.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I would encourage you also to attend the Board of Supervisors meeting when they're talking about the cannabis ordinance and share your concerns with them. We did move, and again, I'm sorry, I won't go too far off topic, but, sorry, you're making faces. But we did, as far as when cannabis was legalized, and we decided to try here as a county, decided to try to make it work, there are pros and cons to the location of cannabis operations. We want to move them away from communities because of the armed guards. Because of the odors, because of, some of the activity. So, but then we also, then that means we're moving them into remote areas, into which some of those areas where we all live and enjoy the peace and quiet. So we're striving to find some balance there. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Do you have someone else on Zoom?
We have the previous gentleman that wanted to share.
Oh. Okay, you want to bring him back?
This is Gordon Thrupp. Hi, thanks for bringing my presentation out.
Okay.
I'm Gordon Thrupp. I'm a senior hydrogeologist with Geosyntec Consultants based in Oakland. I have a PhD in geology and science, and I'm a registered professional geologist and certified hydrogeologist in California. I provided my qualifications for the previous hearing too. And so I just wanted, this is what I was trying to show also in the last one, but I want to show this slide because it helps to illustrate we call it a conceptual model in hydrogeology, but it's vastly different conditions of groundwater in fractured rock than in, for example, sandstone or alluvium. That's schematically represented by these two blocks. And the big difference in the fracture stuff is that it's very difficult to estimate the production rate and sustainability because you don't know how much volume of the rock it occupies. And often it's not all connected. So it's very difficult to estimate. Okay, next slide, please. And then I want to thank Peter Simon for providing data to me, which was very helpful. These are the same data that are showed in the EBP, whatever it's called, the report for the hydrologists on behalf of the applicant. Only the difference is this is zoomed in on the data. So these show for two wells, a few months of water levels, the higher water levels. So it's water levels with time. The dots are the water levels measured in well 1 and well 2 on the right. The lower cluster of points is when it's pumping, the higher is when it stops pumping. And the main thing I want to point out here is that when the pumping stops, you know, in September or October, you can see that the water level has not recovered to the same location and the same height that it was before. It's about on the left plot, well one, it's about 10 feet deeper. 50, and on the well two on the right, it's about 15 feet deeper, I think. Anyway, so but that helps to emphasize that, you know, the cumulative, and with time, this is going to be a more and more problem. That's why the yield decreases as well. Next slide, please.
We have about a minute.
Okay, and I've talked about this before in the previous one. It's the cumulative impact is very important. Go ahead to the next slide. The estimates of the radius of influence, as Peter, you know, mentioned, it's a not necessarily a good metric, but the calculations presented in the report on behalf of Peter Simon are for 8 hours of pumping, and the same was done for the previous project. And these are cumulative impacts, so the potential impact should not be based on an 8-hour calculation. It needs to be based on much longer. Anyway, so I think it's on the last slide, isn't it?
Slide 4?
Yeah.
Okay, need to wrap up. Is he gone? Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else, Sarah? You have one more person? All right, let's, bring him forward. Okay, all right. Okay, any other public comment from the chambers? If not, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission. All right, seeing no movement, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for questions.
Yeah, just a quick question regarding water. So for the existing 20-acre operation, did you say 13.5?
Last year we used 13.5 million gallons.
Okay.
The year before it was 16 million. It was a much hotter year, so there is variance depending on how they go. And the year before that it was lower, so it varies from year to year, but we're still a fraction.
Okay, and then the expected for the additional 10 acres, we're bumping that up from 13 to 35?
No, we're not expecting 35. The EBA did the analysis at 35 to confirm that there was plenty of water at 35 million. We expect that we're probably talking about 25 million. It could go up above that theoretically, but I think it's very difficult to know until you get the season. But we're probably looking at about, conservatively again, 25 million gallons.
Okay.
Which is still far less than it would be if we were planting vines on this property.
Yeah, and that's it's great that we have you guys, because I don't think we've ever had any project where we've come back and we're able to ask these questions about their actual use.
Sure.
We've asked, staff to kind of give us some data, anything that they might have for many of the well reports that have, came back. But I think it's a good opportunity for us to ask these questions if we have any more regarding the use, operation, for example, once your operation increases to accommodate those 10 additional acres, you mentioned that there was not going to be an increase in staffing.
De minimis.
Major increase in staffing, or what are you expecting in terms of how this will look like with those 10 additional acres?
Well, the primary difference is going to be the areas that are farmed. we're going to be able to, it'll require some more. We do use farm labor contractors. So, but what we have is, we have them doing discrete tasks. The biggest impact areas for labor is when we're planting and when we're harvesting. But what we do is we schedule and tier, what I'm trying to think of the word, we schedule our plants to ripen at different times. So what we would be able to do is, it's not so much we need to bring more people in, we just schedule them so that we're at different points so that we can dry and harvest them at different points, similar to how you would do grapes. But as anything else, when you do it at scale and it's all close by, this is the real benefit of having the co-location, is rather than having locations far removed where they're traveling and they're having to set up and prepare out there, they're able to do everything here. We're able to have meetings where our managers, we minimal increase in actual management oversight. So it's really, we're expecting a de minimis increase in the actual overall. Some of the equipment will increase in terms of our mulch, our irrigation lines and such at that rate, but I think that the actual labor and impact is going to be much more efficient than if it were a separate farm located at an off-site location.
So what's your estimated number of employees?
I believe we are at 15 to 20 people employed, but we'll have, and part of that is because we have administrative folks that are off-site, but we'll use farm labor contractors for the majority of the work.
I understand that, and it would be, but on a regular basis, you have 15 to 20 people on site, and then during your planting and harvesting, that will increase about how many?
That will increase for planting.
I'm not sure. There's 15 existing and we're proposing to go to 20.
Sam's going to tell you to get closer to your mics.
Go ahead.
There's 15 existing and we're going to 20. There won't be 2 directors of operations there. There won't be 2 plant health managers.
I just want to know, how many, okay, 15 or 20 on a general basis, when you have your influx of extra for specific purposes, about, what does that about account to?
We're probably 50 to 60 people at least when we're at its actual hardcore peak.
Okay, so.
Farm labor contractors.
Right, I understand that. So my wonderment is the concern about the increased traffic, it's going to be substantial.
It won't be that much more substantial over what we currently have, because even when we're doing the farm labor contractors, planting is not going to require a 50% increase in farm labor contractors. We're just going to plant an extra day. So we're just going, and we're going to be able to do more than 50% increase by adding, with the people that we have. There's a lot of the same people are going to be able to do more work in the same time frame.
Right. It's just a lot of folks.
Yes, no, it's a lot of money.
Can I address one thing on the water here? This is a limited data set that we shared. We have the transducers as required, and that we found that from March.
You need to get closer to the mic.
The transducer data from March to March sets at that 130 number that's up there, full recharge year over year with all that water use. Over the summer season when there's no rainfall, this is what that limited data set's showing. But our transducer data that you guys have all access to and can pull at any given time shows full recharge March to March.
A question about your 362 oaks that you need to remove. You have 602 acres. Can you not find another spot that doesn't involve oak removal to set up the operation that you need to set up?
The location that we picked for this was multi-factored. First, we wanted to remove it as far away as we could from some of our neighbors. We have some neighbors that have expressed less than enthusiasm for this, and the areas where we could have put it would have been closer to them. It is also right at the corner of the intersections of Siegler and Diener. We're not clearing that area entirely. We're putting it right in there. We could move it somewhere else, but then we would be impacting somebody else, and we would also be removing it away from the center of our operations, which would increase the overall impact we'd have on the area. By keeping everything close, we're actually going to keep a whole bunch of other area unimpacted, so available for fauna and flora to go without having people driving back and forth. Most of the property we have up there is open space. And and there's not a lot of it that's actually open and available. The reason this is available to be cleared is because it was cleared long ago and was planted in walnuts originally and then grapes. So we're actually able to utilize most of this area because it's been previously cleared without any impact.
I'm concerned about the number of oak trees being removed. Other questions?
Yes. Again, as I stated before, I did a site visit, and I would have to say, Mr. Simon and Mr. Edwards, that the site, I was very impressed with your operation. So it's probably one of the best operations. Not that I've seen a whole lot, but it is one of the best operations I've seen so far in Lake County.
Thank you.
So I appreciate the effort that you've put into your project. I did have a question. Along with, as my fellow commissioner said, this is an opportunity for us to ask, since you have been in business, you have a permit already to operate. You have 4 people listed as designated individuals for complaints, specifically, I think, maybe odor and noise complaints. So have you received complaints? What's the status of that since you've been operating with the 20 acres?
I don't know how many we have. There's one neighbor that has. I would say it would be fairly characterized as complaints. She does not like the smell of cannabis, and we've tried to mitigate. We've planted a bunch of lavender as close to her place as possible to try to mitigate that. Other than that, I would say everything that was characterized as complaints, we have had complaints about people driving, and we have addressed that, just so you know, with a very strict hammer. We have told our employees that if they are caught speeding, we have a 0 tolerance for that. So, and I would encourage the public to communicate to us if that happens. Other than that, I would say every issue we've had is more of a dialogue than I would characterize as a complaint. There were a number of other grows, both licensed and otherwise, in our area. And unfortunately, because we're the most noticeable, we get credit for whatever problems they may bring. There was some trash. As a result, we have our staff go out there and pick up trash anywhere near our site and way down the road as well. So when we've been able to address every conversation that there has been. Other than that, I can't think of any complaints that have actually come through that line. We did have a conversation the other day. People have complained about some of the dust. So what we have done is we have gone ahead and used what's called dust off on the road to mitigate their dust, and we have been watering our internal roads to mitigate dust so it doesn't affect their areas. So it's that type of a conversation. One of the neighbors asked, somewhere far removed from our place, that we actually help dust off their driveway, and we did so. So it's not necessarily complaints, it's more of a conversation, and I think as people work with us, they learn that we're pretty open to kind of being good neighbors.
Right. Thank you.
So do we want to?
Do we have a date, since we're not going to make it to?
We close public input.
If you're not ready to make a motion, we do have a proposed date and time for a
I'm
continuance.
sorry,
but
I
that
have to
would
go,
be
so then we don't have a quorum.
Oh, there's no quorum now?
No, there is now, but in a moment, there won't be.
I would ask, if possible, that we could have a vote today, either way, but is there enough time just to put the vote up?
I mean, I don't have any further questions, unless if there's any other information or questions that would take more time.
I'm fine. I can vote now. I could vote now if we wanted to make a motion. This is in, as I clarified with staff before, this is District 5.
Yeah.
So,
Would you go ahead and do that?
yes, I could read it. If you are ready, or if you feel like you need more information, then we could pick another date.
I need to be going, so I didn't want to leave
Thank
you
you.
guys in the lurch if we were ready to vote.
Do we? We have a lot of paper. There we go. Okay. Yes, I have sample motions. I move that the Planning Commission find that potential impacts associated with the project applied for by 1833DS LLC, Peter Simon, can be mitigated to less than significant through the implementation of the mitigated negative declaration for the property located at 10750 and 10417 Siegler Springs North, 10800 and 10833 Diener Drive, Kelseyville, APNs 115-004-5, 115-004-01, 115-004-08, and 011-069-48 will not have a significant impact or effect on the environment, and that the Planning Commission adopt initial study PL-25-71 with the findings listed in the staff report dated May 28th. Okay, as corrected to today's date, June 11th, 2026.
A second.
Moved and seconded to approve this motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Too many trees.
I move that the Planning Commission find that the major use permit PL-25-71 applied for by 1833 DS LLC Peter Simon for the property located at 10750 and 10417 Siegler Springs North, 10800 and 10833 Diener Drive, Kelseyville, APNs, same APNs as mentioned previously, does meet the requirements of Section 51.4 and Article 27 of the Lake County zoning ordinance, and that the major use permit be granted based on the findings and subject to the conditions included in the staff report dated as corrected to today's date, June 11, 2026.
I second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Both motions carry. Let me read that the applicant or any interested person is reminded that the zoning ordinance provides for a 7-day calendar day period to appeal.
Wait a sec. What?
My apologies. You would need for the motion to pass, you would need a unanimous vote. So both motions have failed.
Oh.
Is this a new rule?
No. No. And we probably should have asked ahead of time. So,
So it's an automatic appeal for the...
No, an automatic appeal occurs when there is a tie. This is an outright denial, so the applicant can, or any party can file an appeal within the next 7 days.
yes, could we open up the motion again and ask the applicant if they would like to reschedule?
If we open up the motion to vote again, it would have to be from the 2 to 1 from, coming from us two, to open up the motion again.
To approve a
Motion for reconsideration.
Correct.
So then they would come back another day? Is that what you're saying?
No, we would have to vote, but if.
Well,
Maybe we should ask county council.
Yeah.
motion for reconsideration would be the motion. It would have to come from one of the parties who were on the successful side, and it was a denial. So it would have to come from the chair as a motion. You'd have to step down, I think, to make the motion for just that motion, and then because you can't make a motion from the chair.
Right.
And once the motion for reconsideration goes through.
Reconsideration of the vote that we just took, not reconsideration of having them come back another time.
No, reconsideration of the decision. Like, so reconsideration of a motion.
Just what we did.
Just the vote we just took.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, in order to...
But they will be coming back, I'm sure. Whether it's to the commission or to the board.
So what do I have to do? I have to go,
It's up to you, I guess.
Yeah, motions for reconsideration come from, the motion itself needs to come from from a member of the successful vote. So
which would be
the denial,
these two.
which would be the denial.
Oh, that was a successful?
The success was a denial.
Oh.
because your vote for no. Why does that make that a success?
Makes sense.
Because the party, okay, so those who were on the succeeding yes or no side, because otherwise it leads to a scenario where those who didn't agree with the vote, who would have preferred it to pass, can just keep motioning to reconsider. So it needs to come from a party on the side who voted for the side that, the outcome that won. So a no would be the outcome that won in this case, because there wasn't a 3 vote.
So if you wanted to reconsider your vote, you could make the motion, but if you're not gonna change your vote, then it would stay.
So this scenario, if we just go forward with what just happened, what does the applicant do?
Then the applicant has 7 days. The applicant or any interested party has 7 days.
So then this 7-day appeal
Correct.
goes into effect.
Correct. I wasn't, my apologies, I interrupted you, but when you were reading it, but it wasn't because that was incorrect, it was because you had said that the motion passed and it did not.
Oh, got it, okay. It's first time. Okay, so then I'm gonna read this.
Yes, correct.
Okay. The applicant or any interested person is reminded that the zoning ordinance provides for a 7-day calendar day appeal period. If there is a disagreement with the Planning Commission, an appeal to the Board of Supervisors may be filed. The appropriate forms and application fee must be submitted prior to 5 p.m. on or before the 7th day following the Planning Commission's decision in this matter.
Thank you for your consideration.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for that clarification. We'd not been in this sticky wicket spot before. I didn't know how it worked. Thank you. So,
So, and I guess,
okay, so I need,
Madam Chair, if you need to adjourn the meeting.
entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
do we need a motion?
Don't need to
We
motion.
don't need a motion.
Just adjourn.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.